So hi Tyler, how are you today?
Doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing okay. So when you said okay, you looked like you were thinking about it.
Well, yeah, there's some things going on that I don't always care for.
Mm-hmm. Well, that kind of leads me into my first question then. I was wondering if you could help me today.
Yeah?
Yeah, so I was hoping that you might be able to help me better understand some of the stuff that you're mentioning that you're thinking about. So I can help you kind of figure out um, how you would want to change that, what would work for you. You think you'd be able to do that?
I guess I can try.
Okay. So, what were some of the things that were bothering you?
Well, my parents and stuff, they don't talk anymore. So, and if I want to see one of them, I have to talk to both of them and make the plans and the reservations and whatever else. And it just usually, they don't like each other. So, it makes those things really hard when you got to go through somebody to talk to for it to happen,
Mm-hmm.
but then they don't want it to happen.
Mm-hmm. So, you're trying to navigate between two parents that don't really know how to communicate with each other.
They will refuse.
Okay, that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. So, where does that put you with everything?
Usually in the middle.
Mm-hmm. And what does that usually look like?
Oh, usually not too good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when you say not too good, tell me more about that.
So it's a lot of name calling towards the other person, and or just or avoidance of that conversation.
Mm-hmm. And how are you participating in all of that?
Usually I get upset too.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to do this with one of my parents, then and they don't want me to do it because they don't like the other parent, but
Yeah. That sounds really challenging to have to figure out on your own.
yeah,
You mentioned you don't have any siblings.
no siblings, right?
Mm-hmm. Does that add to the frustration for you?
Uh, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like you're really good at trying to figure out how to navigate difficult situations with other people.
Yeah, I'd say I'm pretty good at that.
Mm-hmm. Is that something someone's told you before?
No, just been in a lot of difficult situations where I find myself dealing with it pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And do you usually like the resolution?
Not always.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you said you find yourself in those situations. Tell me more about that. Is it kind of seemingly random, or do you kind of know it's coming?
Uh, a little bit of both. Like sometimes you can see it, sometimes yeah, here it is.
Mm-hmm. And is there a difference between the two when that happens?
Yeah.
You seemed pretty sure about that.
Yeah, usually if you can see it coming, you have at least a little time to prepare and know what's going to happen or not. When it's random,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of could be anything.
Mm-hmm. Do both of those situations seem to stress you out the same?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter really if you have time to prepare or not.
Well, I guess no, it doesn't.
Because it ends up the same.
Pretty close. Actually, preparing probably makes it a little more stressful because you know it's coming. So you're like, try to avoid it, but it doesn't get avoided.
So how do you mentioned avoid, so like how do you try to avoid it?
Usually leave or try not to talk about it, or maybe leave certain elements. So if it depends on what it is, just try not to be there. But if it's what we're kind of talking about, where I'm trying to go do something with the other parent, I might just leave some things out.
And does that work out for you?
It can.
So when you say it like that, is it like a 50-50? Like maybe the odds are in my favor this time?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you
Well, I'd say it usually just prolongs when it's gonna happen. So like I'm just delaying that argument or fight, or
so rather than ripping the Band-Aid off, you're kind of just slowly peeling it.
Well, for me, I get to do what I want to do, so, and that's tomorrow's problem.
Okay. So you're kind of just trying to weigh a balance in the middle to be able to kind of do what you want until it all blows up?
Yeah.
And so what happens then?
Well, when it blows up, or just what you have to be a little more specific if you can.
So I guess you've successfully prolonged or avoided as long as you can. Okay. Whatever the issue is between you and being between both of your parents. And it blows up. What happens then?
So I usually get in trouble for not saying what I was doing. And then I'll say, well, you didn't want to know anyway, or something along those lines. And you gave me permission to do it, just not with who I did it with. So is there really a problem? And then that really gets it going.
Gets it going.
Oh yeah, then we're screaming.
Oh, okay. All three of you.
Yeah.
Okay. So was the problem be easier to handle in the beginning, or when it all blows up?
I don't know. Because usually, if it's beforehand, it's just one of us. It'd just be either me or my mom, or me and my dad arguing about what I want to do or not want to do.
Is that, if you had to rate that way of results, or what you're talking about, your practice of avoiding and how it all happens, if you had to put it on a scale from 0 being the worst to 10 being the best possible outcome, where would you put it?
And that's with the blow up or getting away with it?
Well, you said there's always eventually a blow up, is what you said, correct?
Well, yeah.
So that would be considered part of it then?
I'd say probably 3.
Okay. So what would a 5 look like?
Well, you said 0 to...
Right, 0 to 10, 0 being the worst and 10 being the best.
A 5 would probably look like them just figuring their stuff out. And then not talking to me about it. Let me just go with whatever parent I want to go with.
Be a kid.
Yeah.
So what do you think it would take to remove yourself from that dynamic?
So it'd probably just be me telling them I don't want to you talk to each other and not me about it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's something you could do?
Yeah.
It seems like you hesitated.
Well, I don't know. I was just thinking of the outcome of that versus anything else.
So what would the outcome be?
I don't know.
Is that why you haven't done it yet?
Probably.
Do you think, are there other factors that kind of stop you from doing it?
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. So that makes me curious, though. So why do you think you haven't done that before?
Well, everybody likes being, or likes familiarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so familiar with an outcome, you usually
Mm-hmm.
go with what you know.
Mm-hmm. And for you, that's kind of maybe prolonging it so you get to do what you want.
Yeah.
Do you think if you said, I'm not in this conversation, you guys go be the adults, would it end with you being able to do what you wanted?
Probably not.
What would it end with?
I just don't know.
Mm-hmm. Is it something that you might want to explore or experiment with or think about until next session?
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like what we've talked today is a lot of different things regarding the dynamic between you and your parents.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you kind of feel stuck. And there's a while that you get to do what you want, and the way that you kind of get to what you said, avoid, until it all, in your words, blows up. Right? And that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
And it's hard, probably, to deal with. So, using some of your strengths that we talked about, like being able to understand other people's positions, right? And navigating those difficult dynamics. Maybe there's an opportunity for you here that we talked about to explore different ways of handling it, where you don't have to feel stuck, or maybe adapt and take on other people's problems.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Do you think that's something you might want to think about or explore a little bit more?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well then, we'll have you think about that and explore what you might like to do or think about different solutions, and we'll pick up next week.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.